Blog Talk Radio.
Namaste, everyone. Welcome to Nature of Reality Radio on January 27th, 2016. This is your host, Andrew Fisher, broadcasting Wednesdays from the suburbs of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to expose the true and false nature of reality for what it is and what it isn't. On the show today, we have Brad Johnson, and hopefully he will, during the show, be able to contact his ET contact, Adronis. That's spelled Adronis. If for some reason Adronis doesn't connect with him, that's okay, because Brad Johnson by himself, without contacting his ET contact, is a plethora of information. I know because I have listened to some of his YouTube videos on his YouTube channel to prepare for this show. Brad Johnson is also known as the Reality Whisperer, and his website is www.realitywhisperer.com. I'll be using that and also his YouTube channel as a guide for subjects for this show. But some of the subjects he looks into: psychic ability, channeling, healing, spiritual teaching, dream interpretation, the Akashic Records. He's developed these abilities to better understand how reality interacts with us on a personal and collective level. And his profound insights represent channeled information shared through spirit on a wide variety of different subjects. By the way, there's two numbers in the queue here, area code 760 and area code 917. I'm not exactly sure which one is Brad. I'll check both of you. But anybody who wants to take calls, I will be taking calls in this show, but it will not be for another hour and 15 minutes. 7:15 Eastern approximately is when I will start taking calls. So you're welcome to call in. The show call-in number 646-478-4747. And we'll be taking calls in an hour and 14 minutes now. I see I have some people in the chat room here. Anne of America, I don't think I've ever seen you before. How you doing? Glad to have you in. I guess you're a Patriot community member, judging by your screen name. I'm a Patriot community member too, not just a spiritual and metaphysical guy, also Patriot community. I like being a modern-day Paul Revere in many ways. And also Raymond Colson. I don't know if I've ever seen you in the chat queue before. Glad to have you here. I'll try to talk in the chat as soon as I get a chance. But before I do that, we will, as usual, start with the news, courtesy of Alex Jones and company at InfoWars. Let me just get the top stories up here. All right. Top stories. First story, F-16 fighter jets, FBI, K-9 units, and helicopters ready for a football game. I presume they're not talking about the Pro Bowl this weekend. They are talking about the Super Bowl between the Broncos and the Panthers. I personally don't give a rat's ass who wins that game. It's all rigged anyway. Fritz Springmeier did in my interview with him talk about how NFL and also NHL players and coaches are under trauma-based mind control, and they can use that to rig the games against the players and coaches' will, and also the referees call penalties and blow calls selectively. They're also in on the conspiracy. Fixes in author Brian Toohey, who I did also interview on my show, talked about that. And but this article mainly is concerned about using the football game as a way of conditioning us into accepting a totalitarian police states with the FBI, K-9 units, helicopters, and fighter jets, and probably Homeland Security and the TSA too, where they didn't mention that in the title. They'll also be there, just like they were at other Super Bowls in the recent past. So, I don't know if we'll have another conspiracy theory hero like we did in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago between the Broncos and Seahawks, when that during the MVP ceremony after the game, that conspiracy theorist ran up to the microphone, and during the MVP, when the MVP of the Super Bowl was getting his award, and the conspiracy theorist said, "Investigate 9/11. 9/11 was staged by forces within our own government," and then he walked away. And glad he did that. He woke up a lot of people to the fact that it's a conspiracy fact and not a conspiracy theory. But anyway, please don't fall for the conditioning. All this fighter jet, FBI, and all the rest of it, it's all a plot to impose a police state upon us. And I can't help but wonder if that snowstorm we just had this past weekend was a HARP or some other weather modification technology-based storm to use as a smokescreen to hide the fact that the government was trying to push through some sort of an illegal bill that would give the President Obama dictatorial power to impose martial law all over the world. Not that the President of the United States has authority to do that, but not that the government in the New World Order cares. So I'm just speculating there. Anyway, I'm digressing. Moving on to the next article. I'll have Brad Johnson on at 6:10 Eastern at the latest, I promise. The next article, Russia may ban American corn and soybeans. Oh, good for you. Look, I don't really know to what extent Vladimir Putin is or is not on the New World Order side. I mean, he seems to be acting like an angel recently. And some people like David Wilcock have even went as far as saying that Vladimir Putin is meeting with benevolent extraterrestrial aliens. And the malevolent Illuminati-based extraterrestrial aliens are greatly losing control over Putin, and that's why he's acting like such an angel and doing things that are against I guess, what the New World Order wants. I mean, some people like using Russia Today as a news source because it tells bad secrets about the American government, but then again, they don't tell dirty secrets about the Russian government, and they were anti-gun after Sandy Hook. Even Alex Jones said he's not on the same side as Russia Today anymore, even though he used to do interviews for them. He doesn't anymore. He said he lost faith in them after they were clearly anti-gun. So, look, speculate all you want about Putin, but he's obviously doing a very smart thing here, banning, well, not just him, but anybody else in the Russian government, and the Russian people are waking up to this too, banning American corn and soybeans, which are GMO-based from Russia. All right, next article. Denmark approves controversial migrant assets bill. Okay, I don't have time to look into what this is all about, but clearly all these illegal immigrants moving and refugees coming into countries in Europe and also America over the Mexican border. I mean, this is all part of a plot to destabilize the country and have those illegal immigrants take guard jobs and all those other things to screw us over, Cloward and Piven style. And I mean, I've always said I would love to see the day where we could all cross borders, international borders, without any government permission or paperwork filing, and people could sail into foreign countries on their ships in public waterways and not have to go through like an Ellis Island type procedure to immigrate into the country. But the problem is there is a conspiracy to bring illegal immigrants into these countries to screw over the people of those countries in a Cloward and Piven manner. And as long as that conspiracy is intact, it is certainly, I believe, in our best interest, I'm able to assert this too, our best interest to do some sort of a vetting process or anyone or anything entering the country and make immigration a privilege and not a right. I mean, we have the right as the people to ask our government to do any sort of a vetting process or anyone or anything that crosses the borders of that nation. Likewise, our state governments can do that too if the people were truly concerned about that. I mean, the courts have ruled that people within the state countries can go from state to state without having to go through an immigration process to go from state to state. So many illegal immigrants may think, well, why can't we do that with foreign countries? Well, I guess we could, but as long as there's this conspiracy, you got to do a vetting process on people coming in from a foreign country into your country. All right, next article. Hillary Clinton, I'd appoint Obama to the Supreme Court. Oh, my God, Hillary Clinton. You know, I can't help but mention that whenever I talk about Hillary Clinton, I always like to mention David Icke's Revelations of a Mother Goddess documentary, where Illuminati mind control slave Arizona Wilder mentioned people that political and corporate leaders who she saw at Illuminati ceremonies shapeshift into reptilian aliens, and she said, I saw Hillary Clinton before I knew she was Hillary Clinton. Yes, and now Hillary Clinton is somehow running for president, and I say somehow because anybody who's not asleep would understand that all this email scandal stuff involving what she did on her private email account is grounds for arrest, and the word on the street is the FBI is going to try to indict her, but will the powers that be stop that from happening? Who knows? I don't know. But to say she'd appoint Obama to the Supreme Court. Obama, yeah, he had to surrender his bar card to be president because an attorney is not allowed to be to run in any non-judicial branch of government without surrendering their bar card. There's a lot of attorneys in non-judicial points in government that have not surrendered their bar card. And if he could expose them, then I'd get them kicked all out, then the whole house of cards would collapse, because attorneys are great assets to the Illuminati to a great extent in non-judicial parts of government, and that's not allowed because of separation of powers. Appointing Obama to the Supreme Court, what a dreadful thought. All right, next article. Lead poisoning strikes another U.S. town. Yeah, this pertains to, well, this references another U.S. town. The before town was Flint, Michigan, and the governor should definitely resign there. I've signed petitions and made phone calls asking him to resign, and you should too. I don't know about making calls. A lot of people say making calls is pointless, but signing petitions is not, so at least do that. If you don't know what this other U.S. town is, you have to check it out yourself, because I got to do one more article here. Man arrested after recording cursing cop gets $72K. Okay, I'm kind of confused about this article. Someone arrested for recording a cop. I don't know what the get $72K is all about, but I'm guessing this happened in Illinois, because Illinois is the most totalitarian-minded state when it comes to filming the police, which you have a right to do in public. There's no reasonable expectation of privacy in public. You go out in public, you're saying, okay, you can look at me because I'm in public, so there's no reasonable expectation of privacy, so therefore we get to film the cops as much as the cops have the right to film us. Well, apparently they don't seem to recognize that in some places, and now this guy gets arrested after recording a cursing cop, and I don't know who gets the $72K. That's kind of beside the point now. So anyway, that's enough of that. Okay, I believe this is Brad Johnson, because there was another caller in, but he hung up. So, area code 760, is this Brad Johnson?
Yes, it's me. Hey.
Hey, glad to have you on. Hey, just to start off, as far as channeling Adronis goes, is that something you can do any time, or is there like a specific time when you would want to do that? Or I mean, it's your prerogative in that regard. So,
basically, whenever you feel like it's good, it can be good.
okay. So, all right. Well, I think I'll just we'll wait on it maybe a little later before I actually specifically ask you to channel him. But I guess we'll start off in this regard. Silencing the skeptics, and not just the skeptics, but those who, well, can't help but be a little concerned about where you're getting your information, because a lot of people find the idea of ET channeling to be absurd, and even those that don't find it absurd would say that the ET channel has no way of knowing if they're channeling a malevolent entity that is masquerading as the benevolent entity that they think they're channeling. So could you silence the skeptics who don't believe in ET contact, and also to all those people who are skeptical for your channeling, how do you know for a fact that it's Adronis and not someone or something else?
Well, the whole idea is it's not about silencing the skeptics. That's the whole idea, because I think if you're really trying to enforce something and saying that this is really me and this is what I'm really doing, what is it that is a goal that you're attempting to put out to get skeptics to be silent? So it's not really about that. It's more so in the idea that my information is very free form. And it's not about a person that has to believe this information. It's not about a person who feels that, oh my God, Brad is actually channeling an entity.
Oh, great. He just dropped. All right. Hopefully he'll try to call in now, but it does say he just dropped. So, folks, if you'll excuse me, I'm just going to try dialing his number right here, and maybe he'll call in before I can get a hold of him. But let me just... All right, hang on a second. I'm going to put myself on mute as I'm trying to call him. Hopefully... Oh, here he is. Never mind. Hey, Brad, you dropped.
Hey.
I do hope that's not the NSA or technical gremlins screwing with our signal, but
well,
let's just hope that doesn't happen again.
Whatever it may be, but that's
right,
okay.
So,
I can call back.
Back to what you were saying.
Anyways, just as I was saying, again, the skeptics can be the skeptics. I've been doing this now for about 7 years, and everything that I put on my channel truly is just that of free information and open information. And I've always said in my videos as well, too, that it's okay if people feel that this is something that really benefits them, and it's okay if it doesn't as well. So really, to anyone who may be skeptical about that, that's completely okay. It's really more so that the message speaks for itself rather than the messenger. That's always been my particular philosophy. So again, if it feels that everything that I've been sharing on my channel or through my website and through anything else has really benefited a person and they really love that, fantastic. And again, if it's not something that vibes with you, that's okay too, because there's no real way that I can give quote-unquote proof relating to what I'm doing, because when you are channeling, only really you are experiencing it. You're experiencing the thought flow. You're experiencing the connection pertaining to another consciousness and yourself. So there's nothing really that can be done in regards to giving some type of external, tangible proof that that happens. Again, there's quite a lot of people that I'm meeting right now who are becoming channelers themselves. And what I basically look at, and again, is the message. And if the message represents some type of corroboration, if it brings about some very strong corroborative data that other people are receiving as well too, and you weren't aware of it, and now it's just coming into your awareness, to me, that's something very special, because that feels like there's a mutual source that's being connected together here. But no, I don't attempt to silence skeptics or anything like that. I have no need to. It's just being able for me to share my information, because I know what my truth is, and it's not for me to tell another person what their truth is. You either can vibe with this or you can't, and to me, it's cool either way.
Fair enough. All right, I guess we'll start off now with the... Well, first of all, before I get into the healing sessions, that'll be the next thing. I just want to ask, in regards to who or what Adronis is he basically a higher density dimensional version of yourself, just like Bashar is a higher density dimensional version of Darryl Anka, or is there something different to it in your case?
Yeah, very close to that idea. Basically, how Adronis has introduced himself to me is that he represents a higher aspect of my own being, so basically a branch, so to speak, of my own higher self, and that he connects within non-physicalized planes, or shall we say a little bit somewhat physical, but he exists within what's known as the sixth density, or what you could also refer to as the seventh dimension. And he exists as starlight within the star of Sirius A. And so basically he has come through back in December of 2008, and I've been channeling him ever since. So basically a lot of information that he has is very, very deep. He talks on a lot of different topics. And, Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar, I've talked to him in the past as well, too. I've actually got a lot of assistance in helping me to channel through him. So there's definitely similar styles that him and I have relating to Bashar and to Adronis, because a lot of people are noticing that. Brad, when you channel, you kind of sound like Daryl when he channels Bashar. And I said, yeah, because we basically have the same kind of style when we connect in that particular type of channeling state. So basically our brain waves synchronize to the entities that we connect with. And that's basically all that's happening. Through meditation, everything is possible. I mean, you really just connect to all these different realms. It's not going to say that it's going to instantly shift your physical reality and change manifestation or anything like that. But you're definitely connecting to a lot of different broadbands, representing entities, representing consciousness, connecting to different levels of information, such as accessing the Akashic Records, for example, accessing the universal mind. So a lot of this is capable of being pursued and something that can be attained in meditation state. So again, that is basically what I do when I connect with Adronis. As I go into a kind of a light meditation, I start doing a little bit of chanting, and through that helps me to center, and that basically is synchronizing the brain waves between myself and between Adronis. And then basically what we get is a simultaneous telepathic connection that comes through the heart, that comes through thoughts, and you're basically just synchronizing that information through a blending of consciousness between myself and him.
Thank you. Actually, before we get into healing sessions, you just mentioned something, and this subject is never going to get old, and I got to bring it up with you because of what you just said with where Adronis is from. I believe you said sixth density, but also seventh dimension. Now, a lot of people would assert that dimension and density are just two different terms for the same thing, but judging by what you just said about Adronis, you feel that is not the case. So if there is a difference, what is the difference between dimension and density?
They basically serve a similar purpose. It's basically what you would know as the containers of reality. Now, density basically represents molecular mass, and dimension basically would represent the frame set or the grid in that particular way. You could think of it as an aquarium in that sense. If you're looking at the walls of the aquarium, the frame set in that way, that could be the dimensions. If you're looking into the idea of the water and the fish inside the water, then that's basically giving you the idea of the operational mass of density.
Thank you very much. And we'll start with the healing sessions now. I see on your website here 4 different healing versions things. Let's take them one by one. Abundance attunements, personal real-time interaction to assist in alleviating area or areas of conflict. Okay, could you elaborate on how abundance attunements work?
Yeah, basically it's very similar to what people may know as neuro-linguistic programming and a type of self-hypnosis as well too. It also works in different types of arrays that are similar to another technique that is known as the release technique. So it basically works together in the way that we're basically working on particular feelings that a person is feeling that they are very much entrenched with. They're feeling that there's a lot of negativity pertaining to this particular type of feeling. So basically what we do is we attempt for that feeling to be loosened. So basically just allowing that person, and they basically go through a pre-preparation exercise, to allow that person to loosen that particular feeling with them so they're not fully attached to it, so they're not basically feeling that they are possessed by it in any way. Basically, they're just loosening up that feeling within their own consciousness, and now they're able to look at it for what it is. And basically what we do is we do a step-by-step procedure to shrinking down the intensity of energy that has been brought upon that particular feeling or emotional state and being able to render it completely inert. So basically allowing it to be released, allowing it to be forgiven, and allowing it to return back into a state of tranquility. Once that happens, then at the tranquility point, we attempt to boost that point up as well, too. So you could refer to it in a nutshell as a type of feeling exchange or an emotional exchange. So it's being able to lessen the states of emotion within yourself that are very, very in conflict with you, negative in that way, and being able to boost up more of a positive reinforcement and fueling that particular positive reinforcement with the areas that you want to improve within yourself. So again, this can be personal transformation, this can be professional transformation, this can be financial abundance transformation, whatever it may be. So we basically have a wide array of areas to work with. Every person is different. There's actually been quite a few times when I've been doing the abundance attunements that it's been almost like a miraculous thing that's happened. People are just noticing that they've actually instantly been able to heal particular pain within your body right away. because they have been able to fully let go of that particular form of pain, that emotional state that was causing that pain in the first place. Even within days after, people have noticed that their financial abundance has increased. It's really, really a wondrous form, because 95% of everything that's being done in that session is by the client themselves. They're the ones that are doing a lot of the work. I'm just basically guiding them through this process, helping them to shrink down the energy focus of that old negative belief, that old negative emotional state, and being able to, again, bring it into a state of being inert and just being able to allow it to be released, and then being able to focus on the positive tranquility that comes afterwards and boosting that up so that this energy can now be replaced, basically following the rules of equivalent exchange.
Thank you. Now, moving on to one new energy healing that you might as well, for all intents and purposes, have trademarked, for lack of a better phrase, the light circuitry attunement thing. It says that you are the founder of that. In my description, it says healing symbols received intuitively to assist areas in conflict, no personal interaction required. All right, you're the founder of this. Tell us what it's all about, please.
Yeah, light circuitry basically deals with subconscious symbols. So basically being able to go into an intuitive state, a kind of altered consciousness state, and being able to retrieve specific hyperdimensional symbols that are being utilized to assist the client in any particular areas specified that they feel certain forms of healing needs to be done. So basically utilizing these types of symbols and kind of using it in a way that there's been some energy healing practice that basically represents hands-on energy healing, placing them in certain chakra centers, allowing their own energies to place the circuit within their own being. That is kind of more of an automatic process. People have seen some really amazing things happen with this as well, too. People who have had really bad back problems as well, too, within the next couple of days have felt that it has really lightened up. They felt there was quite a few cracks and jolts happening in the back just shortly after they got the circuit, and then just after about a day or two, they've started to notice that there's a great improvement within their back. This has also happened in regards to abundance as well, too. So it's something that, again, kind of like the abundance attunements, can work together in a different world of possibilities. So whether it's something that in regards to helping heal physical pain, helping to resolve emotional states, helping to bring about transformation in your life. These basically just assist as boosters. They're kind of like amplifiers, and they work together with the subconscious mind. So usually what I do is when I create these through these intuitive states, I basically send them to the client. The client receives them, prints them out, for example, and is just putting them under their bed for a total of 7 nights. So 7 nights is basically the average amount of time it takes for the circuit to go into full effect. So it's kind of like if you're just seeing a piece of paper in front of you and you're just closing your eyes and you're just seeing these particular types of symbols coming into your mind based upon the intention of working together with a client that has certain areas that they want to have released. So you're basically putting these particular circuits together, and you're doing a certain type of method that is done in energy healing very commonly, again, kind of what's known as distant healing, and being able to place this within certain areas of the chakra centers. Then again, of course, their energies work together with that circuit, culminate that energy together with that circuit, and working with the subconscious mind. So it's basically like an amplifier. I don't say it in any way as a cure or anything like that. It's something that will help. It's something that is an array that can generate some really great clarity. It's in the best way, it's referring to an amplifier or a detoxifier energy that the circuit represents. So again, all the healing work I do, I never say that, this is it, guys, and this is the ultimate cure. It's nothing about that. It's basically an assistant. It's an amplifier, and it's a facilitator. So through light circuitry and through abundance attunements, it's something that can assist and something that can help. It's a tool, and people have noticed that there's been some great improvements coming through these particular tools when they use them.
Okay, the next one on the list is Healing Insight Session. It says discovering root causes to areas that affect physical, mental, and emotional levels, and no personal interaction required. How does this one work?
Yeah, basically I receive the full name of the client, their birth date, and just a photo of themselves. And they basically may also tell me that there are areas within their body that are causing some havoc in that particular way. And so what I basically do is I again go into an intuitive state, and I just start connecting with these areas that they feel that they have listed, that they want to find out exactly what is causing that, what's the root cause. So basically I'll go into their own Akashic Records in that particular way, into their own fields, and start receiving this information about why these particular areas are in the condition that they are, and then giving suggestions and recommendations about how they are able to heal these areas by themselves. So it's basically just helping to kind of create like an information guide to really giving insights relating to how people can identify the root causes of many of these areas and being able to discover some strategies and some recommendations to heal them.
Okay, and the last one is a special form of Reiki known as Usui, if I pronounce that correctly, Reiki certification. It says level 1, 2, and 3 performed through a distant initiation and no personal action required. The thing I'm interested about Reiki, first of all, is how much practice would one need? Because many would assert just believe and acknowledge that you have the power to heal someone just by touching them and draining the negative energy out of them. But others would assert, no, simply acknowledging that you have that power and believing it is not enough. You actually have to practice. So I'd like to get your thoughts on that, and also the specific type of Reiki known as Usui Reiki and the different levels associated with it. Please enlighten us on that.
Right. Well, I mean, Usui Reiki is actually quite common. There's quite a few practitioners that are out there. It was basically created through the founder, Dr. Usui. And basically, he just started developing these particular types of symbols that represent, kind of similar to light circuitry, basically represent symbols that are very well founded and connected to enter the body and helping to work in areas to basically release energy. It's not about the idea that you need to bring belief into a lot of your healing arts. And I think if a person is bringing a lot of belief into their healing arts, they're contaminating it a great deal. I don't bring any belief into any particular type of healing or work that I do. Beliefs can deeply limit you. And the more that you are without belief, I feel, the better that you'll be. The more that you feel that, oh my goodness, I got this Reiki attunement right now, I just believe I'm going to be this super duper awesome healer and I'm going to be able to heal everything, etc. And that's getting a little ahead of yourself, right? So it's about being able to really develop a mental centering discipline behind all of this work. The Reiki itself is not going to be the healer. You're going to be the healer. The light circuitry itself is not going to be the healer. You're going to be the healer. So the whole idea is that like light circuitry, like abundance attunements, like healing insights, all of these are tools and they are methods. So they use particular types of levels to move you into certain initiatory factors to getting an understanding, firstly, of the flow of the Reiki energy. And Reiki basically just represents universal cosmic energy in that particular way. That's all it is. And again, it's just an initiator. It's just helping you to flow more with the connection of universal energy. So you're getting very much more used to the postures, to the hand positions, and just allowing that particular flow to become one with you. And you're feeling maybe some heat coming into your hands. A lot of people who practice Reiki, who I've met, have been really incredible at this. And they have this humility to them. And when they begin, their hands just start to heat up, right? So you just really start to work together in governing the energy together, not controlling it, but governing it, which means you're just allowing the flow to come through and allowing the governance, the directing of the flow based upon the person you're working with. Sometimes it can be applied to yourself to just allow it to happen and not putting so much belief and thought forms behind it. The second and third levels basically represent symbol integration, so being able to work with the specific symbols. The third level, again, represents the master level, so which also gives you the ability to teach the Usui Reiki process. Andrew, are you still there?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. I was having a few problems just, with Mozilla Firefox, which I was doing this show, and a couple of glitches with the screen was disappearing, so I had to sign on to Google Chrome. I do hope this won't be a problem. I mean, I know we're out of a Mercury retrograde now, so I wasn't expecting that, but hopefully it won't continue. So anyway, let's try to kill two birds with one stone here. Actually, before I do that, a couple of people in the queue here, in the chat. Psychic Sean, my biggest fan, says, I'm having some serious health issues now. Can you do some healing on the air? Just if you can, could you answer that for?
I would have to get to know more specifics about what's happening and just getting an idea in that sense. Distant healing in that sense would also take a lot of time of silence, so it may take quite some time for me to do that. It's quite a long process. When I do distant healing on somebody, it's basically within half hour, 45 minutes around there, and I'm basically just very, very still. So it would probably just take up a lot of our interview time if I did that. But I would just say to Sean is just go to my website and you can look at this a lot further, and we can talk about the sort of things that you may be having problems with.
Okay, cool. Some person, area code 717, keeps appearing and disappearing in the queue. I don't know what the deal is with that, but someone with a 480 area code is going to be calling in soon. I won't be taking calls for another 45 minutes or so, just so you know, and they're going to want to speak to Adronis when I take that call. But before we do that, let's try to kill two birds with one stone here. Akashic Records and remote viewing. A couple of things about Akashic Records. First of all, I, as a source, one of my most commonly used sources for my show has always been Akashic Records reader Andrew Bartzis, and people have accused me of using him as a source too much, but my justification for using him as a source has always been, well, if he says it, the Akashic Records say it, and if the Akashic Records say it, then it must be true. And in regards to remote viewing, we all have the ability to do it, just like everybody has the ability to access Akashic Records and such, but certain people are more blessed with it than other people. I'd like maybe for you to explain why that is the case, and also when you do remote viewing, does it always help to do it as a group instead of just doing it solo as a lone wolf? Because many would assert if you try to do it by yourself, it's not going to work anywhere near as well as you do it as a group. So Akashic Records always telling the truth, and why certain people are better at it than remote viewing, and how remote viewing works best. You got the floor on this.
Well, it's not always about telling the truth. And again, this is where there's a really big distortion and feeling that if one person says something, then again, that must be quote unquote the truth. That's not the case. You have to understand that everybody on this planet is a grain of sand, right? And so we're getting a couple of different viewpoints from a couple of different grains of sand, simply because they're looking at a different perspective. That's not to say that they're wrong, but that's basically how they're interpreting this stuff. I don't really piggyback off any particular person's information. I just like to receive what I receive. And if I notice that there's corroboration and redundant commonality along the way, that's fantastic. But I don't hang my hat on the idea of one person that says this is my truth and this has to be the truth. To me, really, if you're looking at the truth, you would have to have an omniscient perspective of an entire collective to really get an understanding of the truth. And you'll always find different ways about how that's being brought out. Reality is by interpretation, and that's one of the biggest things that I've learned doing a lot of this work for the past 7 years, is it's not about one person saying that this is the way it has to be and it has to be done this particular way. That's one viewpoint from one grain of sand. So the whole idea with the Akashic Records is when you're accessing that, you have a very immense library that's providing you with a lot of information, but it's not going to be, quote unquote, the be-all, end-all relating to the idea of knowledge. Everybody is going to have different viewpoints of that. This is what makes us human. And we're all going to have unique perspectives. We're all going to see things different ways. And that's basically just us attempting to understand ourselves. It's not about the idea that one viewpoint exists and it must be this viewpoint and that's it. And I don't think in any of the particular forms of history that we understand that we've covered the fullness of history. We haven't, not even close. We've looked at viewpoints. We've looked at perspectives through that. I don't even think in regards to science that we've seen, again, the end-all, be-all. We haven't. I don't think in regards to our pursuits in consciousness we've seen the be-all, end-all. We haven't. We're not even close. We're a fraction. That's not even a tip of the iceberg. So this is really giving the idea that viewpoint is subjective, that everything, even in the idea of fact, is subjective. And that may be something to say, what are you talking about, Brad? What do you mean? What about the law of gravity? Well, gravity is more of an effect than a law. But really looking into the idea about how everything is always being more and more revealed to us. It's kind of like, again, peeling off the layers of an onion that will peel off one layer and saying, oh my goodness, this must be it. This is the almighty be-all, end-all relating to the onion. Nope, there's still other layers to go, right? And you're just being able to peel off these infinite layers of the onion and realizing that there's more to it. So the Akashic Records, again, yes, is an absolute amazing database of information. It does contain all of the information of the universe pertaining to a thought matrix, and a lot of us are accessing these thoughts. And I just like to look at people and see exactly what they are producing through the Akashic Records and saying, well, you know what, that's a very cool perspective, man. I'm not worried about if this is the end-all, be-all, because the only truth that you're ever going to find is inside yourself. You're not going to find it on InfoWars. You're not going to find it on YouTube. You're not going to find it on Facebook. You're not going to find it through friends and family. You're going to find it through yourself. So the more that you can just align to more of your own heart truth and decide that this is your reality, this is something that you are perceiving. Only you can perceive reality in the way that you do. So it's about really giving yourself more openness and trust to look more deeply into your own truth. So basically going into remote viewing in that sense, yes, I've done remote viewing since about late 2009, early 2010. It's a pretty incredible art. The one that I've learned was basically previously militarized, and it was known as technical remote viewing. And it's basically just being able to put all of your thoughts aside and just basically focus completely on the collective unconscious in that pure flow state and just receiving information instantaneously. So there's a procedure that's done, and they basically just attempt to dismiss the idea of thought or imagination or analysis within the remote viewing aspect. And you're basically just writing down all this information based upon a quote-unquote target or subject. And then again, when you notice that you're in big groups and you're all studying a certain target in that way through remote viewing, that many people will come up with some very similar things. So it is pretty special, I think, when you do it in the group environments. I've done it in certain online environments, just with people, looking in certain targets in that way and finding out what you can come through. There's also programs as well too. Downloadable software in that sense that can help you with this as well too, looking at the idea of a picture and just being able to interpret that picture without looking at it. So remote viewing definitely has its place. It's not something I use too much. I haven't actually used it in quite a while, but I'm very familiar with its technique. I just am more in preference to the idea of psychic perception or channeling. That's just been more of my flow.
Yes, and on the subject of psychic ability and channeling, I'm not going to name any names here, but in the not-too-distant past, regarding a couple of psychics, a little bit of a controversial thing was going on. One of the people, I was interviewing one of the psychics, and they claimed to be channeling a higher ET entity, among others, and they were also claimed to be channeling a couple of public figures that died in the past, and I didn't sense anything wrong with this person or anything, but then when a couple of days later, when I was speaking to another psychic during another channeling, that psychic said they listened to my interview with that person, and that psychic said that guy is a professional liar. They were not talking to those dead public figures, and that psychic was pretty assertive that I would have sensed those people if they truly were there. Well, when I spoke to that psychic who claimed he was channeling those celebrities, those not really celebrities, public figures, and I told him about this, and I asked him, okay, is it possible that maybe a psychic would not be able to sense that you're channeling those people even though you are, and that is why they think that they're a professional liar? And he said, well, to be honest with you, I really don't know if I can answer that correctly because I've never really meditated on that issue. But I did do another session with this psychic who was alleged to be a professional liar and claimed to be channeling my grandfather, and there were a couple of things during that session that suggested this psychic, he's not a fraud, he's legit, but according to the other psychic, he was being selectively lying when he was claiming to be channeling those dead public figures. So is it possible that a psychic would not be able to sense that another psychic is channeling certain people, or would they definitely be able to sense that the guy is a professional liar?
You can't answer that generically. There's no answer to that. Really, when you're looking at everything, again, reality is by interpretation, right? I've certainly met people who, again, have been really great psychics, and they've done an amazing job sharing information with me. I've also met other people in that sense that will basically, try to sell snake oil in that way. It's really an intuitive thing. There is no ultimate psychic in that particular way. There's no levels that you're going to move to say, I'm an ultimate psychic and I can detect everything. No. You're going to have challenges. There's even some times when you're just connecting with a person, there's certain things that you can't access. And I think basically for a person to save face, they pretend that they can access something and feel that they just don't want to let the client down, or they don't want to let the person who's interviewing them down because they can't receive that information. You know what? It's okay if you're not receiving anything. It's just the more honest that you can be relating to your psychic work, to your channeling work, to your mediumship work, to your healing work, etc., the more honest you are, that really reflects your integrity. and just being able to notice that it's okay if you feel that something's not coming through. There's been a lot of people that have asked me, "Oh, Brad, can you connect with my grandmother and stuff like that?" I said, "That's not what I do. I don't channel other people's relatives and stuff like that. There's one being that I channel, and that's Adronis. There's a couple other beings I channel that are kind of in his energy as well too, like Rayar, etc. But I don't channel other entities other than him. So basically, if there are messages, then he may come through and share certain things that may come up. But it just all depends in regards to permission slips. There are some entities that want to hang around and share messages with people. Then, of course, there's other entities that people believe are hanging around and believe they want to share information, but really it's just coming from that person and their own particular connections as well, too. So it's a very, very challenging thing to really say that generically is there anything that a psychic can do or anything to give the idea of if a person is telling the truth or not. You just have to be discerning. You have to really train your discernment and get an understanding that if you're able to read a person, even if they're BSing you or not, who cares, really? To me, that's really the important thing, right? It's just if you already know that there's something that someone says that you don't agree with, then you can simply acknowledge that, right? It's, I understand this person is attempting to channel or attempting to be a psychic, and he's saying this stuff. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is, right? So I mean, it's all up to the person to decide exactly what to do with that. To me, I'm just not hard on people. I'm not really in the point of feeling that, oh, this person's not channeling, or this person's not a psychic, or this person's an amazing psychic, etc. Sometimes I'll talk to a psychic, and if I get a really good reading, absolutely, I'd recommend them. But again, it's just all a part of people's journeys because people want to be psychic. And here's the thing, everybody has the capability to be a psychic. Every single person on this planet does. But the whole idea in that sense is that they throw a lot of thought forms around and get the idea of feeling that they need to behave a certain way or that this expert does it this particular way, and so they have to do it this way. And if they don't do it this way, then they're basically going to look like they're a fraud, etc. So it's a very, very complicated issue, really, with a lot of different psychics. I encourage everybody just to work with your intuition. Again, it really comes down to 3 key fundamental. Open yourself up, trust the process, interpret the flow. That's all you have to do, and just put aside the thought forms. Put aside the idea of feeling that belief is telling you you need to assert yourself a certain way. You need to do it in this particular type of procedure. You need to get ready in this particular way. Otherwise, it's not going to be legit. Here's my particular perspective on that. And pardon my Welsh, but fuck legitimacy. Right? It's all about being able to look into yourself and saying that it's okay. At times you may not be correct. I don't do my psychic work because I'm looking to be a 100% legit psychic, I'm not looking to be a male Sylvia Brown or anything like that. I do this because this is who I am. I do know that most of the time there's been people who have really, really enjoyed what I do. There's been times as well too where people have said, Brad, no man, I don't vibe with you. I don't agree with you. I don't think what Adronis was saying was correct, and I'm not going to fly with this. I'm like, oh, that's okay, man. Don't worry about it. As long as we had a perspective that was shared. I have no problem with a person who wants to say that this isn't for me, and I have absolutely no problem with the people who absolutely enjoyed it. It's really just being able to have a humility about yourself. You're not here to impress people, and you're not here to feel that, oh, look at me, I have all this ultimate psychic knowledge, and I'm a god among men, etc. It's just not about that, right? That's just my perspective. But again, everybody will have a really different point of view relating to this, and to me, that's just the spice of life.
Fair enough. All right. This point on, I'm probably going to use your YouTube channel as a guide. I have a lot of your videos up. Has it listed most popular to see which subjects people would probably most likely want me to talk with you about in this show. But one subject I do want to discuss, I listened to one of your videos about how to communicate with nature. I don't know if you were channeling Adronis when you talked about this, but don't remember. But you basically said clear your mind, visualize, and then there's another step. So I think the video was like 15 minutes. Could you maybe give an abridged version for all those people who want to learn how they can communicate with plants and animals in nature?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I think it was the body communication healing that you're talking about, or just communicating with nature. Those are some of my 2 newest ones. The communication with nature really is an amazing one. It's what I personally use to connect with nature. I have some beautiful plants outside, and just at times I just go outside and I just spend a few minutes with them, and I just start placing my hand upon the tree. There's a favorite tree of mine outside that I just connect with, and you can have conversations if you want. But with my particular perspective, I just sit with the tree and just connect with them for a few minutes and just feel this kind of bonding, this healing energy that comes really, really strongly through nature and myself. So for anybody, yeah, I mean, there's a video that's on my channel that talks about Adronis connects through, and he talks about how you can connect with nature. And a lot of it is just being able to spend about at least a good 15, 20 minutes with a particular plant or tree of your choice. If there's a tree in your backyard, or if you're going to a central park, for example, and you're feeling this really nice connection with maybe an oak tree or a cedar tree or what have you, just being able to bond with that tree. Sometimes physical touch can really, really help you very much. You feel that bond and connection with the tree. Sometimes you'll just rest your back against the tree. You have a favorite book, and you start reading a book as you're just connected with this tree, just sending it love. You're also capable of being able to send loving energies with that tree through communication, being able to talk to it and say how much you love it, and just really being able to open yourself up. The whole idea is that we can communicate with absolutely anything we want on the planet, but you have to become accustomed to how it communicates. So like I have, a couple of amethyst crystals right here in front of me, and if I spent a great deal of time just communicating with them and imagining myself what it's like to be a crystal, then I'm entering their world. So basically this is what I refer to as the entering the world method. So the more that you can enter the world of a particular life form, whether it be a tree, whether it be a bush, whether it be crystals, whether it be an animal, etc., all you're doing is you're entering their world. You're getting an idea in that sense about imagining what it's like to be a tree, what it's like to be a plant, whether it's like to be a dog, etc. And that's your permission slip. That's what you're creating to actually being able to connect with this animal. Doesn't mean it's going to immediately start speaking English to you, but it's going to be giving you an idea, a sign about how it communicates, and now you're going to become a whisperer to that, right? So when I look at the idea of reality whispering, you just have to imagine through that big, enormous, amazing imagination of yours what it's like to be something else, what it's like to step outside of yourself as a human being and move into the mentality of a tree, the mentality of a bush, the mentality of a dog, etc., and just being able to flow within the world. And other people may be looking at you and saying, what the hell is he doing? What's going on with this guy? He's just sitting there like looking at the dog. It may seem a little bit strange, absolutely, but you're just connecting with that animal. And, you spend more and more time connecting with that energy, and you're going to understand how to communicate with that. With me, it just feels like nature communicates with me, and I'm able to see a lot of these mechanics about where reality is taking us in many different ways, based upon, again, the best way that I can interpret it. So, I've only just scratched the surface relating to what it is to be a reality whisperer and just really listening to what reality has to say to you. A lot of it just has to do with our own personal lives. A lot of us is just seeing what's happening collectively on the planet right now. There's a lot of acceleration happening. There's a lot of intensity happening. But again, if you can really read about what this is doing to impact yourself, and not looking at so much of the world through a looking glass, which basically means the media, which basically means social media, which means anything like that. If all you're going to do is see the world at that level, you're not seeing the world at all. Again, you're seeing the world from a different point of view, from another person's established point of view about how they see the world, and you adopt that as your own particular opinion. So the whole idea is going outside, going into your world, interact with your world, talk to your trees, talk to your nature, talk to other people, see how glorious it is in your world. And if your world isn't glorious, what are you willing to do to change that? And nature can be a great helper to helping you change.
Yes, I try to become one with nature all the time. During the big snowstorm we had this past Saturday, I went out in the blizzard, and I feel it really took the divine masculine out of me and made me a much more tougher person walking through all that snow. But a lot of people don't want to do that, unfortunately. People have to learn to tolerate all kinds of weather. But anyway.
Well, there's a purification effect to snow. I think when you're going outside and you're enjoying the snow, there's something that's really pure in the air when it starts snowing. So I enjoy that. I enjoy that feeling.
I do too. All right. Also, not just connecting with nature, but another popular video you have here, how to connect to your star family. Well, first of all, for the people that are confused about the term, what exactly is a star family? And then could you briefly tell us how to connect to them?
Yeah, really. I mean, again, all I'm sharing here is perspective. So with the star family is that we're basically looking in the idea that we are the product of many different civilizations that exist beyond our world. We basically have 22 different genetic programs that exist within us. Now, actually, Corey Good has already talked about this recently, and I've been talking about this since about 2009. And so when I saw Corey actually talking about the 22 different genetic programs, I'm like, oh, good, man, he gets it, right? This is awesome. I've listened to Corey Good, and I think a lot of his information is spot on. Again, that's just my perspective. But basically, the star family represents family connections that exist celestially, that exist on an interstellar level, and that many of them are working behind the scenes with us right now as we continue to evolve ourselves as a human race. And because as soul, we have many different connections to different stars and to different peoples, we also have the capability to bring this into our being, to connect in this particular way with ourselves. And so being able to use something like the symbols that were provided in that video, that's just one example. Some people may feel I have a very strong connection with Sirius. I may have a really strong connection with Andromeda. I may have a very strong connection with Orion or the Pleiades or Arcturus, etc. And so there's some universal symbols that are available in that video that people can just capture and print out and just see exactly what it does to you. You may feel that you may have new symbols coming all the time as well too, and I would encourage looking into that. What I really suggest to everybody is being able to start a diary. If you guys haven't started a diary yet, this is a really great tool. Just really being able to connect with yourselves and get an idea about what you're experiencing on a daily basis. If that's a notebook or if that's something that you record on your computer, whatever it is, just keeping track of your day and seeing what challenges have come through and what revelations have come through, right? And this is helping you to keep track should you want to connect with a star family. Just saying that, I did a meditation tonight. I just felt a lot of love, a lot of floating energies, but I didn't really feel contact yet. That's cool. You got relaxed. You started to float. That's awesome, right? So sometimes it can take quite a bit of time, depending upon the person. Being able to connect with the star connections out there with other beings. There are beings that look a lot like us, and there's beings that look nothing like us at all. It's a very vast, diverse cosmos, and so there's a lot of beings. Some people may come up to you and say, well, Brad, how is it that I know that my star family is benevolent? Are they sure that they're not going to take me over or possess me or anything like that? And I suggest that if you have a lot of fear coming into this, you shouldn't be channeling at all. I'm also suggesting that to psychics as well, too. You have a lot of fear in yourself. You shouldn't be doing psychic work. That's just my own perspective again. Really, it's all about looking into the idea that this should be something that is so exciting to you. This is your authenticity. This is something that is your heart. I'm not doing this for any other reason because this is just myself. This is who I am. I'm not looking for the quote-unquote fame or glory or anything like that. This is just something that I share. I just have a unique approach in sharing myself, and that's how a lot of viewers have found me. But I'm not looking for the idea of making millions of dollars off this or anything like that. I just enjoy sharing, and I just enjoy doing this for a living and just enjoying my stability with it. But again, everybody has the capability to be psychic, to connect with these particular beings, to go into meditation, to heal. It's all something that we as human beings have the capability of doing. But the most important thing is that you have to feel this as yourself. You're not doing this because it looks cool. You're not doing this just because, it might be something I can make a lot of money off of, right? And those are basically just the idea of expectations and the feelings of, feelings of different forms of artificiality in that particular way. So the more that you can really just connect with yourself and saying that I'm going to become psychic because this is who I am. This is what I love to do. This is something that means more to me than anything. It's a family energy to me. That's great. And I definitely am happy to work with a person like that. And just really being able to notice that, a lot of life exists beyond our world and you have the ability to connect to it. But the most important thing is being able to connect with yourself and really getting to know who you are, going on self-dates, starting self-relationships, and getting to know who you are. And as you understand that, now you'll see that the world, the galaxy, the universe opens up to you a lot more because you're feeling comfortable in your own skin. You're feeling blissed out. You're feeling love. And that is how these harmonious beings connect with you, through love. And the ones that you connect through fear are going to be the ones that could be possessive, are going to be the ones that can be malevolent because you don't trust yourself. And that's the energy that you're putting out. You can only attract what you're the frequency vibration of. And if all you're going to attract is hate and fear and anxiety and anger and is this person right on this network or is this person wrong on this network, etc., and you're still ignoring yourself, then all you're doing is basking in the idea of ignoring yourself and feeling that you're creating anxiety and fear. So look into yourself. Give time for yourself. This is why I recommend everybody who's listening to this today, spend time with who you are. Who are you? What is it that truly is your passion? What is it that's something that you really are excited in exploring? What's your authenticity? Those are the questions I pose to everybody today.
Thank you. Moving on to another subject, I see you have a video. You channeled Adronis when you did this. You don't have to channel him if you think you can answer this yourself, of course, but the Mandela effect. I've heard about this a few times.
Yeah.
When people say Nelson Mandela, he died more than once. He's officially dead now, but he's been dead before on a couple of occasions. And Fidel Castro, I believe, said this also happened to him. And it has also been said that George Herbert Walker Bush, when he had bronchitis a couple of years ago, many assert that he did die, but he was somehow brought back to life using time travel technology or some sort of Mandela effect thing. So for all those that are really scratching their heads over how these political leaders can be brought back to life, could you explain the Mandela effect?
Yeah, when I first found out about it, I was quite excited about that. I'm like, yeah, this is a lot of the stuff that I talked about with what's known as the amalgamation effect through Adronis, and then someone discovered the Mandela effect, and it's basically the same thing. Basically, it's that we have gone through, and again, this is maybe something that we have to wear your very open hat with. We've really been going through different dimensional shifts throughout these past several years. And what Adronis has shared is that there are many different worlds that have basically culminated together one particular world. And that's a world that we're sharing right now, that there's a population that's indigenous to this particular dimension. And through this particular dimension, we've noticed that there's been some minute changes. For the example, the idea of the Bernstein Bears, in that sense. I remember reading these books and watching the show as well too, almost religiously, when I was younger. And when I was basically exposed to the idea of them saying, "Oh, it's the Bernstein Bears now. It's Stain, not Stein." I was like, "What? Are you kidding me?" No, man. I remember that as clear as day. It was Bernstein Bears. And that basically in this reality, if you're basically Googling for Bernstein Bears, it's going to come up with Bernstein Bears, right? So this is basically what some people have stated it may be like false memories in that sense implanted. Just my own particular perspective, and again, it's not the be-all, end-all, but from the perspective that Adronis has shared is that we basically have shifted very, very conveniently from one dimensional Earth to another. And that this is basically what's known as the new Earth in that particular way, the idea of what people could also say like the 5D Earth, etc. And that's basically where we are right now. And this is why I feel that I've told a lot of people, we're in a very positive future. There's a very positive future coming. I don't see doom and gloom. I don't see new world order shenanigans, etc. happening. It's something that's just all phasing out right now. So really looking into the idea of the Mandela effect, from my own perspective, it feels like there's just been a shift from one dimensional Earth to another, and some people just remember the old paradigm memories of that older dimensional Earth that they were a part of. And there's quite a lot of information on the Mandela effect. There's a lot of different forms, even with people who have had personal encounters. They've noticed that there was a house that once existed down the street that was a certain color. They woke up one morning, they walked down the street, and that house was not only a different color, but a completely different shape. Right. So again, a lot of these different forms of dimensional rifts are happening, and Adronis has referred to this as the amalgamation effect. Before I knew it was the Mandela effect, but that's basically what it entails. Is just, to my perspective, a feeling of a dimensional shift that has occurred.
Okay, getting back to that whole Bernstein Bears thing, the people that created those characters, the original creators are dead, but their son, Michael Bernstein, is still alive. When I tried to research this, I said, okay, so has anybody asked Michael Bernstein what he has to say about the Bernstein Bears effect? And some guy claimed that Michael Bernstein did comment on his blog saying, well, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said something to the effect of, my name has always been spelled with the letters Stain. I don't know what
That's
people
right.
are talking about. So what the hell is up with him? Why wouldn't he remember?
That's fantastic.
How does that work?
Because he's indigenous to its reality. That's basically it. So when, again, you'll meet people who are indigenous, who are completely oblivious to the idea of this change. And I've seen it with quite a few other articles as well, too, that people remember certain episodes of TV shows, that there was a special episode where a character dies, and then they remember that character comes on the next week, right? And they ask the actor about this and saying, why did that happen? And say, I have no idea what you're talking about, right? So basically what you're doing is you're talking to the indigenous folk that are indigenous to this particular world. So basically the ones that are the catalysts that are being affected will often be the indigenous folk upon this planet. So again, like Nelson Mandela, who a lot of people thought that he died in the 80s. I even remember that broadcast as well, too. And then, of course, he just died recently. So that's something else as well, too, is that the catalyst that is in effect will often represent the idea of the indigenous person that is native to this dimensional universe. And so they will have no idea about what you're talking about.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to scratch their heads and say, I wish the world wasn't as complicated, but that's what happens when you got more than one dimension.
I think we all do.
Right, but also a lot of things that seems to be complicated, the whole twin flame thing. I'm seeing a video saying the misunderstanding and realization of the whole twin flame partnership. So since there's some misunderstanding about this, I think I should take this time to ask you to clear it up. What is this all about, the misunderstanding realization of twin flame?
Yeah, it's not to say that there aren't quote-unquote twin flames. It's more so in the idea of feeling that, a lot of people who are on the spiritual path, who are on the spiritual journey, believes that there is a sacred loved one that is there for them. And at times this may be true. But the whole idea in that sense of saying that, oh my goodness, I'm in a twin flame relationship right now and everything's just going to be love, light, and peacefulness for the rest of my days. People who feel that they're in a twin flame relationship feels that it'll be permanent and that it'll be there till death do we part. That's just not the case. There's going to be certain lessons that are being brought forward and everything. It's not being immune to any particular life lessons that you have. Whether you say it's a twin flame, whether you say it's a soulmate, etc. You'll have some really strong connections. Some people may say that twin flames are basically like life lesson karmic partners, is that they're really just here to really teach you something on an extreme level so that you get it. And then, of course, some people say that soulmate is more who is kind of in your alignment and kind of represents a strong cooperation together with you. That can happen as well, too, but again, that can be short as well. So the whole idea in regards to twin flames and soulmates and saying, am I going to find my divine partner and my lover in that sense, and then say, well, how do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about actually starting a self-relationship? And I've been part of this whole feeling as well, too. I've had quite a few ex-partners, right? And I used to think that, oh, my God, they're twin flames. They're awesome. This is going to be great. There's happiness and there's marriage and there's all this great stuff. And it didn't turn out that way, right? So, and I've just speaken to a lot of other people as well, too, who felt for absolutely sure this was the divine one. This is the partner of my dreams, and he or she is here, and it's going to be amazing. And just a short while after, they break up. So the whole idea in that sense is that the real key here from what I've been receiving is that you really need to develop a self-partnership with yourself first, and really just feeling comfortable in your own skin and not seeing that you depend so much upon a divine partner that's going to move you up the ladder. You're the only one that's ever moved you up the ladder because you have agreed to look at certain perspectives from what other people are telling you, and you're giving yourself the permission to say, all right, now I'm going to change. I've sensed this, I've felt this, I've experienced this, and I know within my heart this is the best way to go. You did all of that. Again, everybody else, whether it be a twin flame, whether it be a soulmate, whether it be your mom, dad, your brother, your sister, your best friend, etc., are all just catalysts of you. They are reflections. They're mirrors. And so basically you're just creating these, through perspective, these particular types of people that are attempting to convey a message to you. So if it's your partner in that sense who may argue with you and saying, why didn't you do the dishes today, etc., it's just a reflection of you, of feeling that, why didn't I do the dishes today? What is it that my partner is attempting to tell me through this particular perspective? So when you're looking at anybody in reality, you're giving the idea and saying that they are basically showing you how you see yourself from their own perspective. So it's you looking back at yourself from their eyes. And again, that's people, that's places, that's events, that's things. That's, again, the entire Akasha. We're just in a hologram. We're existing in a very large, multi-dimensional hall of mirrors. And so all of these people, again, regardless of whether it's relationships on a romantic level or friend relationships or family relationships, etc., it doesn't have to be about twin flames or soulmates. Again, if people want to go there, that's fine. Again, that's their own particular perspective. But you're not immune because there's this feeling that you have this divine partner and you click so well and everything feels so good. That's great, but again, it doesn't mean that you're out of the woods and feeling that there's nothing for you to learn and that you can just sit back and relax with your divine partner. No, because that's, again, something that's outside of yourself. You, again, need to look into yourself. You need to develop self-relationship, and you realize that I'm not attached to my partner. I'm complementary to him or her. She or he is complementary to me. And that's basically it. We exist as complements. We're basically here to work together and help each other out in that particular way, but I don't need to depend on him. He doesn't need to depend upon me, etc., whatever it may be. And just realizing that everything pertaining to relationship has certain forms of challenges that we'll go through. And that, again, it's not about you being bailed out of life. because you have this divine relationship. There's a lot of things that you're going to be responsible for. And your partner is just a complement to that addition of the challenges that you're going to face and the revelations that you're going to experience as well, too. So they're just helping you along the ride, really.
Thank you. I see another interesting video here. It's about 7 minutes long, called Interacting with Aggressive People. I'm sure a lot of people would be interested to know how to deal with aggressive people, because it happens very often in this matrix of duality that we're in. So could you educate us on how you think is the best way to interact with aggressive people?
Yeah, I mean, aggressive people can often be referred to as people like energy vampires in that sense, feeling that they want to kind of siphon off energy, and no matter what you say to them, they're going to continue that particular state of regression. It's no more different than how you would deal with a bully. The whole idea is stop feeding them. Stop feeding the people who you feel are very, very aggressive. If you're noticing that this person is being relentlessly aggressive, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter what you attempt to do to make peace, there's nothing that can be done. And that's giving you the indication that it's time to walk away. It's time to stop feeding the beast in that particular way. Bless them in your own way, give them appreciation, and hope they find their own journey to their own illumination, and just feel that you are canceling yourself out of feeling that you need to be associated in this particular way with a person who just will be relentless and will not see any particular type of way other than their own. So this is basically when it's time for you to unplug yourself from that person. It's basically when we create relationships, we're plugging into those particular type of people and saying, hey, how's it going? You know, what's your life like, etc. This is my opinion. This is my perspective. And when that person becomes relentlessly aggressive and just starts throwing their weight around and starts saying, no, you can't think of it that way. You have to see it my way, or else this is it. You know, this can happen, again, through families. This can happen through friendships. This can happen through bosses and coworkers, etc. Detach yourself, being able to unplug yourself from that person and saying, all right, you know, I understand this is your perspective. There's nothing I can do or say to change that. And so I'm just going to acknowledge this and walk away, right? It's okay to walk away. It's okay to feel that, you know, you're being, you know, completely saturated with all these thought forms that you're adopting. And that's really what it is when a person is basically sending you vampirism in a particular way, or energetic vampirism, is that they are just spewing out all of these thought forms to you, and you're sucking up these thoughts because you feel defenseless. You feel afraid. And fear is basically like that ability of saying that all these hostile energies of thought are now compatible with my state of fear. And so basically the state of being that you're in is basically inheriting these thought forms as your own. And this is how a person gets miserable. This is how a person gets panicky, because they are just feeling like a victim in front of this person who is relentlessly aggressive. So the important key here is knowing when to unplug yourself, giving yourself enough value, and understanding that the exchange of value and worth that you have is sacred. And if you feel that that sacredness is ever being violated, you have the right in any particular moment to unplug yourself, disconnect, and just wish that person, you know, all the love in the world and move on. That's the most important thing. That's how bullies work, again. It's just that relentless aggression. No matter what you do, they will still try and say that, you know, I'm right and you need to surrender to me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're not your God. They're not your God. And they're basically just telling you something about yourself. They're basically telling you in that sense that, you know, stand up for yourself, work with your own energies, form a self-relationship with that idea. Are you going to succumb to the idea of being a personal slave to this person who you will constantly, again and again and again, walk up to and be at the mercy of their aggression, right? So it's very, very important that you become aware of this and noticing that I'm seeing this because I need to give more value to myself. I need to see my worthiness. I can't just keep seeing myself as a victim. And so when you learn that lesson, you move past that particular experience. And again, it's just a blessing of an experience. Everything that I feel I get in my reality is a blessing now. You know, there'll be times where I get short with some things and all that, and then I just kind of click out and say, oh, wait, you know, that was attracted to me for this particular reason. And it's okay. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel upset. And it's okay to know that there's people like that out there, and just give them their blessing. And, you know, whether you do that inside or outside, whatever, and just know when to walk away. That's the most important thing. Value yourself and remember the sacredness of you.
Well, folks, I hope you learned something from that. I hope you could deal with aggressive people better because of that. Thank you, Brad Johnson, for that advice. I don't see any people in the queue. A couple of people like area code 408 or 480 or whatever and 717, they called in and then they hung up. I don't know if they're going to plan to call in a couple minutes anyway because I know I said I'd be taking calls in about 6 or 7 minutes. But anyway, maybe one more subject if there's anybody in the queue, and then we'll start taking calls. I see you have a video here. You were channeling Adronis when you did this. The Earth's Poles and New Life. Now, this got my attention because, well, I recently had Santos Bonacci on my show, and a lot of people said that ever since he got out of jail for 70 days after being arrested on a bogus warrant, they totally screwed around with his mind when he was in jail because he subscribes to the flat Earth theory, and I tried to bombard him with as many bits of information that I could during my interview with him to try to debunk the flat Earth theory, and he claimed to have re-debunked them, so to speak, all over again. One of my things I told him as to why I believe the Earth is round. Other people would is because some ET contactees have said that their ET contacts have given information that the Earth is round. Like Sheldon Neidl, for example. Sheldon Neidl is well known for diagrams of Agartha, like inner Earth, and he claims that there's poles at both the North and the South Pole, holes at the poles at both the North and the South Pole, and that runs counter to the flat Earth theory, which says that the continent that we know of as Antarctica is actually an ice sheet that encircles the outer perimeter of the entire flat Earth. And so Santos Bonacci was like, well, a lot of these ET contacts, you have to understand, they're getting information from higher dimensional ETs. These ETs are going to relate to them in a different way. And he asserts that all the ETs actually come from layers underneath the hollow Earth and not from the stars. So I don't know if Santos has lost his marbles or if he's been under my control since he got out of prison, but whatever the case, this isn't about him. This is about understanding, well, is the Earth round or flat? What do you have to say about that? And what do you have to tell us about the Earth's poles and the new life?
Right, yeah. I've heard a lot about the flat Earth theory, and I've never subscribed to it. Just being able to go out of body and just realize that so many people who have gone out of body, I've gone out of body one time as well, who can really just connect with being kind of in the orbit of Earth and are just able to rotate around the entire Earth, understand that it's spherical. It's not even about the idea of people who are channeling higher dimensional consciousness. It's even going back thousands and thousands of years to even like the ancient Chinese, who even stated that before there was any kind of anti-gravitational technology or spacecraft in that particular way, that they knew that the world was round, right? So to me, I think that, again, I can only really share my perspective. If a person wants to feel that the Earth is flat, that's fine. To me, it feels like a psyop in that particular way, relating to the idea of a flat Earth. But basically, the video that you're talking about with the new life that is coming to the poles, there's actually been a lot of proof from NASA as well, too, that are mentioning that around the areas of like the southern pole, that they're discovering entirely new life forms that are coming through, and that the Earth is basically like a factory, and that she is building a lot of these new life forms, and it's also occurring even around the lands as well, too. That new plants are being cultivated, and because Mother Earth is part of intelligent infinity, everything that represents the idea of what we're experiencing in regards to pollution, toxicity, new diseases in that sense, are actually being manufactured by the Earth herself. So she's actually putting this up to the soil. She's bringing new life forms through the poles as well, too. And we're just seeing a lot of new changes. We've seen a lot of extinctions happen as well, too. And it's now being able to notice that those unfortunate older paradigm shifts of of extinction have taken place. What is born out old becomes renewed again. So if that has been phased out, then the birthing of something new is going to be happening. And so there's a lot of new life forms that are coming upon the planet. Nothing is ever lost in reality. We're always going to notice that if something has retired from the physical body, that there will be a representation of new life that will come together to substitute that particular type of energy. So again, there's a lot of new life forms that are coming on board the planet right now. There's a lot of new plant life that's coming upon the planet right now, and we're seeing this in the Amazon as well, especially with all of these amazing elixirs and plants that are being created by the shamans. And they do amazing, could even be in that sense borderline miraculous things when you take them. So we're really just noticing that nothing is ever out of balance within nature. Whatever is lost in that particular way or felt that is lost will always be renewed through the idea of gain. So really in the whole idea that there is no loss, there is no gain, because everything always represents a reciprocation of even balance. And so that's what we're noticing with this factory of Earth that is manufacturing many of these new life templates that we can now use to do pretty much anything relating to cure diseases, relating to helping to combat the idea of toxicity within the environment, and a lot of other things. So again, Mother Earth has so much intelligence that we can't even measure it.
Thank you very much. And Mother Earth, well, I'm sure will only get even more intelligent if humanity wakes up. So people, please wake up to help Mother Earth become more intelligent. All right, but let's get to the calls now. I have one caller in the queue. I was expecting this caller. Area code 480. You're on the air. You were also in the chat under Raymond Colson. I'm guessing that's what your name is. So where are you from and what's your question? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, hi. Raymond Colson, and I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. And huge fan of Adronis as well as Brad Johnson. And my question was actually for Adronis. I actually have two questions. One that actually relates to the show, and then one that is kind of more of a personal question.
Okay. So did you want me to bring Adronis in, and we can probably answer that question?
Yeah, but by all means do, because actually after this call, I was actually planning on asking you some questions where I would have to ask you to channel Adronis in. So I guess you might as well channel him now.
So, yeah, Raymond, I just asked just to hang on the line there for a couple of minutes. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring Adronis in. So what you guys will notice is I'll just be doing some light chanting. It's kind of like a little affirmation that I'm creating. I'm basically saying Terra, Sol Star, Canis Major, Sirius, Adronis. This is kind of like a point-to-point. It's almost like a connecting the dots type of affirmation that I'm doing that helps to center myself and connect with Adronis' energy. So I will go ahead and get into the state right now, bring Adronis through, and we'll get started. Terra. Sol Star. Canis Major. Sirius. Adronis. We are here at this time, and we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this particular broadcast being brought forward through your internet collective consciousness. What we would like all of you to do at this time is simply allow yourselves to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius, so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all the information that we have to share. Also understand that all of the information that we shall provide is simply that of our perspective, our point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very heart, being, and soul. So we say hello to the individuals known as Andrew and Raymond. Thank you, and how may we assist you today?
Go ahead, Raymond.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Adronis, for this connection.
You're welcome.
My first question is, I think, a great topic for the show, nature of reality. It's about physical reality.
Yes.
Those of us that are maybe into spirituality, or not even to label it as that, maybe just awakening into how reality is working, a lot of times we hear that physical reality, in a sense, is a reflection and a mirror of what's happening within our own selves. And my question is, and you can correct me if that's incorrect, but I guess my question is, why do we also hear that we need to go within to look for ourselves? If physical reality is like a mirror and like a reflection, why is it necessary to only go within and not able to search the exterior world for maybe who we are, or does that make sense?
Yes, we understand. It is a very good question. Thank you very much. The whole idea really is that if you're learning through the idea of your external reality, we are not saying that this is a bad thing, but the whole idea in that sense is that you're only going to associate yourself with the mutuality of external perspective. So very much looking at it in the idea of a projector, that inside you basically is the carousel, and that everything that represents you is actually what is fundamentally responsible for broadcasting everything within your external reality. Now, this reality, as you know, is not the be-all. There is much more besides this idea of reality. But because you are, in that sense, an interface, because your body is specifically calibrated for this particular planet and for this particular reality, you will only understand so much that represents the idea of your external reality through the idea of other people's perspectives, which is truly what you are gazing at through the mirrors. Because again, yes, you from within are magnetizing these particular types of energies that warrant perspective from the individuals or from the phenomena that you encounter externally. And so the whole of mirrors in that sense does represent, yes, the external facet. It is the idea that you are gazing into the mirror because even the outside is the inside. So the whole idea here is that as long as you continue to look into the screen, the canvas that is actually receiving this projection from going within yourself, you're only identifying with the picture that is placed upon that canvas, and that you can only see so much in regards to the idea of the picture. But what about the person that took that picture? What about everything that allowed that picture to maintain itself here in physical reality? Well, you need to go inside for yourself, because that's where the projector is. That's where the carousel is. That's where all reality, that is where omnipresence is. That is where you are as a soul is. And so again, the whole idea relating to physical reality is that yes, even though it is nice and solid, and it is in that sense a very convenient state of experience that represents physical reality, it's only an interface. It is no more different than what you would know as your computers. When you have your quote-unquote Windows operating system in that way, you understand that that's not the whole computer. That is the convenience of the interface to helping you understand, some more so relating to reality, about a particular form of perspective of how you see yourself. So external reality is the interface about how you are seeing yourself in this particular form, in this particular way, in this particular type of collective, in this particular type of reality, in this particular type of hall of mirrors, in this particular type of universe. To get in some particular type of clue that as I exist as this entity, this is what I understand based upon everything that's happening within myself right now. So the innerness is the allowance of you to go beyond the program, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. So the outside is basically just a fraction of who we truly are, while the inside
Correct.
is much more of a deeper level of who we actually are.
Yes. Correct. So again, understanding that the way that your computers are engineered, that the hardware truly is what you would refer to as the innerness, and that the software, again, what comes up on your computer screen and what you're actually observing as an interface is only a very small fraction about everything that needs to work behind the scenes to actually initiate that particular type of program. And how you perceive the idea of utilizing that particular interface tells a lot about yourself from what's going on within you, your spiritual hardware, as it were.
Great, and that makes perfect sense. Thank you so much.
We thank you very much, Ray.
Yes, and so my second question is, I have had one prior interaction with you, Adronis, and you brought me to the awareness I am in contact, or these other beings may be in contact with me, known as what you deemed as the Ganymede Alliance.
Yes.
And I was just wondering at this time, are there any messages or any breadcrumbs for me to maybe follow and help me strengthen that connection?
There does feel like there is, in that sense, a transmission that is coming through for you to actually, in that sense, move into a particular type of space, a location in that way, something that may warrant the idea of a vacation, something that may warrant the idea of a short trip, but it in that sense requires a great deal of nature. We are feeling in that sense a very strong presence to where this location is. And so there's a transmission that is being brought forward that the more that you are able to encompass yourself in the idea of a thought-activated idea, to actually move more into the idea of this particular degree of natural environment, wherever this location may be that you feel it is, this will actually be the confirmation that will actually help you to connect to more of their energy. So the Ganymede Alliance in that particular way does represent certain beings, but much in regards to how they are communicating with you is that of the focus of artificial intelligence. So there's basically what you would know as a crystalline artificial intelligence that is being brought forward, as we stated, that Ganymede is basically an observation station, a monitoring station throughout your star system. And so that there are certain forms of, shall we say, similar to the idea of your satellite uplinks, a crystalline artificial intelligence that is actually transmitting their signal that is in that sense felt primarily within the frontal lobe of your brain. And so the more that you are actually able to move more into natural surroundings, and again, you will discover what this place is, the more that you will in that sense allow the opportunity for a higher receptivity to connect with the Ganymede Alliance to be made possible.
Great. And so I will basically whatever place in nature I'm really attracted to, just kind of act on that, go there.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
We do feel
Perfect.
that it may represent the energy of a hike in that way.
Yes.
So we would say, go take a hike in a nice, pleasant way.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Adronis. That was my final question, and thank you, Andrew, for taking my call.
Yeah, you're welcome. I remember Alex Collier saying Ganymede is an artificial body masquerading as a moon. Maybe it is after all. All right, take care now. Call in anytime.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, one more caller here in the queue. Area code 408. You are on the air. What's your name? Where you're from? What's your question?
Hi, my name is Anthony Garcia, and I am from San Jose, California.
How you doing?
Hi, Adronis. My question
Hello,
was, I've been experimenting with quartz crystals for a while,
Yes.
and I was wondering, I've been wanting to use them for like a propulsion systems,
Yes.
or like experiment with them in that way with thoughts. I was wondering if you had any advice on how to connect between thought and crystal consciousness.
So if we understand you properly, that you are looking to create a propulsion system generated by thoughts, the quartz crystals, radiance.
Yes. Or
Is that it?
similar to that, yeah. Whatever way it can work out, similar to that.
Well, again, it's all about simplistic programming. Again, quartz crystals are, in that sense, highly receptive. Now, understand that, as you may already know, quartz crystals are a life form. They are a living being. And so basically you are associating with them no more different than how you may associate with plants or, again, with people. So the more that you are actually able to embed certain forms of thoughts that can relate to the idea of symbols, that can relate to the idea of imagery, or even through the idea of simple affirmation or mantra, this is something that is giving you the idea of the component necessary to actually amplify what you would know as thought amplification or propulsion in that way. So basically, are you looking to achieve a particular goal in regards to the effect of the propulsion?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Well, what is it that you are looking to achieve once you attain the idea of thought propulsion through the crystals? Are you looking to connect to other dimensions, connect to other realities?
No, I actually wanted to use it for more physical means. I wanted to pretty much like use it for like cars, hovering cars, and then teach other people how to use it there, and they can create whatever they want. They want using the same method.
Yes. All right, so it is more of a technological aspect. All right. Those require more sophisticated types of crystals. It is not so much in the idea that your natural quartz in that way is actually going to be sufficient for that. Now, the idea in that sense of actually being able to get the appropriate type of crystals that you may actually find within your underground caves, what you would know as the giant crystals in that way, actually being able to collect particular shards of them. Now, understand that the particular types of thought technological crystals that you understand have been buried under your earth for a great many years, or in that sense, many thousands of years. They have been previously used in regards to your time of Atlantis. Now, Atlantis themselves utilized particular crystals of this nature, being able to, in that sense, go within the earth. In fact, many of the technologies that were responsible for Atlantis were given to man by inner earth beings. When Atlantis basically abused that particular privilege that led to the idea of its catastrophe, those particular technologies were withdrawn. So it is very, very challenging in that way to actually discover an appropriate crystal that could actually function as a technological propulsion system relating to the idea of thought imagery. So the closest approximation we can give you is something that would represent natural transport, such as your own conveyance of body. But the idea in that sense of actually being able to harness sophisticated energy that requires the idea of a power source, in that sense, is still something that is currently withdrawn from humanity due to the Argothan network existing within your inner earth. Okay. That's not to say that at some point it may happen, but the whole idea right now is that your people aren't quite ready in that sense to move to that stage yet. That's not to say that it won't, but right now, again, it is very challenging to find crystals of that nature that are very receptive to the idea of thought propulsion in the idea of technological apparatus addition.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in. Call in anytime. Take care now. Namaste. Later. Okay, Adronis, just so you know, we have a little over 30 minutes left on the live feed. We can actually go a little past 8 p.m. Eastern if you need to finish a statement or thought or something, but let's try to keep this to 2 hours, not too much past 2 hours for the sake of all those people who have a lousy attention span. But, okay, first of all, what I'd like to talk about in the last 30 minutes, maybe we could spend 15 minutes on each subject. First of all, the upcoming near future, and then one little thing about the very far future. And also, I'd like to maybe talk about some specific ET races. So I guess maybe we'll spend 15 minutes talking about what's in store for us in the near future. I'm seeing some videos here on Brad Johnson's site talking about the years 2016 to 2020. There's also a couple videos that say 2016 to 2024, basically saying everything will change. I did recently watch the recently uploaded video on 2016 saying a couple things we can expect is perhaps the collapse of the dollar and a new currency, and also some mass arrests that are going to be in plain view of the powers that be, and then maybe talk about what's going to be going on 2016 to 2024, and then after that I got one little quick question about the far future.
Yes, well, if we're looking at the idea, firstly, of 2016, now we have termed the idea of 2016 as the year of elimination. And the reason why we refer to this in that sense is that many of you will actually be called into action to spread your light across the planet. That truly is the overall theme of 2016. Now, basically, you are moving into the first year of an 8-year cycle, and that this particular 8-year cycle is what you would know as an uprooting process. This is why we have termed this as the span of change. So basically, and this is something that you can actually confirm astrologically, that you are basically moving into a time right now where much in regards to the old systems are not only being collapsed, but they're actually being uprooted. You will actually being able to notice much more of a degree of exposure relating to, in that sense, what these particular types of corporatocracies and other particular forms have been doing all of this time. And again, much of the information that will be revealed could be very shocking. We also mentioned that around the time of 2016, you may notice that there may be a very strong increase of disclosure relating to the idea of the extraterrestrial presence. And we are, in that sense, also stating that there was a particular television show that recently occurred that you would know as the X-Files. And that this particular X-Files episode, in that sense, revealed a great deal, even though in a fictional platform, but is actually, in that sense, in that particular way, completely accurate in regards to much of the technologies that are currently available, and also the idea in that sense about giving some type of morsel of information relating to other extraterrestrial life. So that, in that particular way, on a fictional platform, represents much of the disclosure that is happening. Now, there will be more. You will notice that, again, much of the fictional platforms, including the movies that will come out this particular year, will also reflect in regards to essence pertaining to this as well. So there will be more the idea of disclosure where many people are not feeling that it is such a far-fetched idea, that it is not just the idea of what you would know as a typical conspiracy theory. As we also stated, is that, yes, your monetary system will be going through different changes this year, that there will start to be the beginning of reserve currencies. Now, basically in that way, much of this is going to happen behind the scenes. It will not truly affect the interface relating to your monetary aspect. We have also stated that there will be certain forms of stock market severities taking place this year as well, too. And that 2017 will represent, again, a new restabilization of that effect. But 2016, again, is pulling out all of the weeds, pulling up all the roots, and giving the idea of certain levels of exposure. So you will notice certain forms of exposures happening within your own inner governments, not just through the United States, but through all of the governments throughout the entire world primarily. And again, beginning to see the peak of this time. You will also notice, again, the transformations in monetary currency. You will also notice in that idea the continued success of developing new energy technology, that it is very likely that there may be, in that sense, more of a connection to what you would know as levitation-based technology that may showcase its more aspect in that way through some of your own trade shows or through certain forms of conferences that are, in that sense, receiving a wide array of attention that may be occurring this year as well, too. There will also, in that sense, still be certain forms of earth changes that will be taking place. Again, some of these earth changes will be moving closer to the idea of the lower western area of your own North, Central, and South America, that there will be, in that sense, certain breaches that will happen there. Again, nothing catastrophic, but there will be, in that sense, future quakes in that particular way to come. That there will be, again, continued forms of floods and droughts, etc., volcanoes even in that way, in specific areas, specifically around the areas of Europe or in Asia as well. So again, there is a great variety of, shall we say, necessary forms of transformation that need to take place, and again, much of it is being cushioned. Much of it, in that sense, is being interventionalized in that way of stating that these particular disasters are not looking to be intentional disasters in that way. There's cushioning here. Anytime that you may notice a major disaster that actually occurs, it would be very, very probable that these particular aspects are related to the idea of man-made creation. So again, there may be some of those that may be coming up here in 2016 or perhaps 2017. So again, much in regards to everything being flushed out of your planet, the detoxification effect, and again, allowing yourselves to realize what is being exposed and being able to reach a harmony with that by, again, looking into your own inner light, being able to illuminate yourselves and educate yourselves, and that many of you have been receiving this calling for quite a few years now at least. And now many of you are now being put into the idea it's no longer about awakening. That's the whole idea. It's now about the idea of initiating change. So you're moving past an awakening era into a changing era, a transformational era, an illuminating era. And it will be required for many of you to now step up. And everything that you have gained in this particular way is now basically attempting to come to the surface and being able to be brought into the appropriateness of being shared with others, helping you to discover what you're capable of within, harnessing that particular light and spreading that throughout the world, because there may be very disheartening situations in regards to much of the exposure that's going to be brought about through this year that will, in that sense, dishearten and, in that sense, shock many people. And that many of you who have, again, been in training, your own self-training in that particular way through many of the years, will be called into action. And especially around the time of the latter half of 2016, this will grow more and more intense. A great deal of things are changing. Now, basically looking into the idea of the year of change, or the era of change, rather, the idea of 2016 to 2024 is, again, this represents a point of the entire unearthing, the entire uprooting of this entire effect that's taking place here. So being able to notice, again, changes in your political arena, changes in your governments, that there will be more so in the idea of fair treatment through people-powered organizations. So basically, in a nutshell, there will be less corporatocracy and there will be more increase of people-powered organizations, people-driven companies, people-driven organizations that are helping to connect each and every single one of you more together to unify the planet. There will also, again, be certain forms of exposés that, again, have represented other people that have been buried deep within certain governmental, societal forms that are now reaching states of exposure. So, again, this is what many of you may say as mass arrests. Now, we cannot say for sure that it will be mass arrests, but there will be many arrests happening in this particular way. So, again, our particular form of recommendation would be to keep an eye on the person that you would know as Hillary Clinton in that particular way. That there may be, in that sense, certain forms of charges that may be happening to her soon. It is unclear about when this will be happening, but it is something that is looking to divulge itself sometime soon. And again, new leaders will be elected, and that they will represent the energies of that which is people-initiated, people-supported in that particular way. So there will be an alteration and change of new leadership. There will be an alteration and change in regards to new political arenas. The idea of the political system that you understand right now will cease to be. Basically what that means is that you're going to reversion it. You're going to allow it to become more people-engineered, more people-focused. This may also, eventually, within the next couple of years, lead to the idea of income tax reform. It may also lead to the idea, in that sense, of tax reform, period. That much of you, in that sense, will start to develop the idea of what you would know as local banking, or it may even move even further into the idea, eventually, of the transitioning past money. Now, we feel that that will still be a little bit ways down the road, but this is, again, a very realistic process, as many of you, in that sense, will actually start to move more into cooperative communities and actually work together in certain forms of resourcefulness through trade and barter in that particular way. So there will be small pockets of that occurring across the planet. In fact, it's already happening now. So again, as the majority moves more into the idea of what these pockets are currently and moving more into a resourcefulness, a cooperation with each other, you will no longer need money. So again, right now, money is just basically recompensating itself to eventually transition itself out entirely from your planet. That's basically where things are going right now. So again, altogether, in a nutshell, 2016 to 2024, the span of change is basically going to allow you to encounter an entire new Earth that you never thought would have been birthed.
Thank you. And the one thing I wanted to point out, I see a video here on Brad Johnson's site saying humanity's next 1,000 years. Now, this reminds me of something that Bashar, Darryl Anka, when he was channeling Bashar, said during a conference that I was at in January 2014. He said that humanity will remain in physicality for about another 1,000 years. In that time, we will move in and out of different densities. And he said you could think of a dimension as a country and different densities as states within that country. Now, I brought this up with Andromeda Council contact Tolek because we all remember ET contacts actually were mistaken about humanity ascending into 4D crystalline body consciousness in January 2014, and also one of his friends in the ET contact community, Reiku Salandrich, talked about 2017 being a time when we will ascend into the so-called crystalline body 4D, 5D level, and that flies in the face of what Bashar said about us going into humanity, humanity ascending into, staying in physicality, for about another 1,000 years. And some people who have looked into this said, well, that's just a biblical reference, the whole 1,000 years thing, and so you can't necessarily trust the Bible because there's massive manipulation with that. So what is this whole thing with humanity's next 1,000 years and us remaining in physicality for another 1,000 years, as Bashar and allegedly the Bible claim?
Well, understand firstly that you already are a partial crystalline structure, and so there is nothing about the idea of you moving more into that. It's more so in the idea that there are certain activations happening within your body that are, in that sense, functioning certain degrees of crystalline nodes. It's not about ascending into the idea of, in that sense, a full capacity pertaining to crystalline nature. Again, this can be often misinterpreted. The whole idea in the next 1,000 years is that there will be a lessening of humanity upon the planet because many of you will actually start to become colonials. And what that basically means is that you will start to move more into areas of the star system that will actually have certain forms of colonies that humanity will start to embark upon, and that there will be less of a population around that time within the 1,000 years. And that basically many of you will start to incarnate on different planets after that time of 1,000 years. So basically moving into different star systems, different colonies in that sense, perhaps as humans or, again, hybrids in that particular way. But humanity in that sense, moving towards Earth, yes, will be minimalized. And more in regards to Earth, upon the surface, will actually be, in that sense, much more open, which means that there won't be so much inhabitants across the idea of the surface of the Earth, more so within it. So basically, the whole idea is that you will eventually, at some point, meet up with the idea of the Argarthan network, of other particular human beings that are actually going to be able to reveal themselves and letting you all know that there is a particular nature existing within your own inner planet. Now, the idea of your planet being hollow is not quite correct. The idea in that sense is that there are hollow openings existing within your particular planet, but it is no more different than looking at your own body as if it were drained of fluid. You will have hollow spaces, but everything that you are within is not truly hollow. So basically, this is giving the idea in that sense that there are certain forms of subsets, that there are certain vaults contained within your planet that are hollow-like, but it is not truly correct that your planet is hollow. But again, it is true that there are hollow openings. So again, there are a majority of different races that have been existing within the interior of your planet for a great deal of time, well within the millions of years. And that eventually throughout this particular course within the 1,000 years, you will notice that these particular beings will actually come forward and through the idea of a truce agreement will actually be able to open themselves up and connect in this particular way to introducing the inner earth to many of you. And so there will actually be less people upon the surface of Earth, and again, more on other planets, but more also within the inner Earth as well, too. So this is basically what many of you would refer to as a particular type of graduation that is moving into a different dimensional flux, because many of you will start to move into the inner Earth and actually connect in that particular way, because you will notice how, again, the atmosphere, the environment of those particular types of degrees of inner Earth are very much similar to what is on your outer surface, and that the outer surface in many different ways can often be unstable. It is more so in the idea that much in regards to the outer surface is more for what you would know as plant and animalistic existence, and that humans in that sense have actually been sharing the plane for the idea of plant and animal existence for a great deal of time to reach a state of harmony with the surface. Once they have reached a state of harmony with the surface, they can therefore graduate into the inner catacombs relating to the idea of the inner earth. And you will actually notice that much in regards to the tectonic shifts and many in regards to the atmospheric conditions that may create havoc at certain times pertaining to earth changes will no longer affect you. And so it is a graduation process. Yes, some of you will be going to other planets. Some of you will be moving into the inner earth. And again, upon that time, there may very well be a smaller, minute group of beings that are hybrid in nature that will begin to occupy the surface of the planet. And again, it will be in much more smaller capacity. So overall, within the next 1,000 years, your world will be a heavily shared world with much of the galactic community.
Thank you. Before I get into ET races, first of all, 14 minutes, 40 seconds left on the live feed. Got one caller in the queue, and I got one question in the chat. Briefly, could you question the chat from Psychic Sean? Why are we still being bombarded all over the world with toxic chemtrails, and who is behind this and who pays for this?
Understand that your chemtrail agenda in that sense is an attempt to basically create environmental control. And so the idea in that sense is that they will often use harmful chemicals, often in regards to what you would know as aluminous oxide, to basically create the idea of environmental control, very similar to how you would put a baking sheet around a roast in that way so that it does not get overly burnt. But the whole idea in that sense is that this is highly toxic throughout your planet, and that truly the way in regards to how this can be properly governed is the idea of moving more into free energy technology, and that's in regards to the idea of the toxicity that moves into this way. The more that the idea of the resources are more contained in regards to funneling through the natural resources of your own planet, the more that there is a natural equilibrium in regards to allowing the Earth to build up its own defenses necessary to actually allow the idea of climate transformation or environmental control to be well naturally guarded. But because there has been so much pollution and certain forms of heavy toxins contained within your atmosphere, many of your governmental agents believe that chemtrails are necessary to create an environmental control factor. Now again, there are also other agendas pertaining to the idea of your chemtrails. Much of it has to do with the idea of what you would know as a very slow poisoning effect that actually in that sense not only affects humans, but certain degrees of nature as well too. So again, this is basically part of a particular old agenda. And again, this is something that will be addressed within your coming years. Now again, it has already been heavily addressed. But much in regards to the idea, like your own extraterrestrial disclosure, the idea of the disclosure of the ceasing of chemtrails will actually start to happen bit by bit, country by country, through the idea of new elected leadership.
Good to know that. Okay, caller, area code 702. You're on the air. What's your name, where you're from? What's your question?
Hi, my name is Svetlana. I'm calling from New York. Hi, Adronis.
Hello, Svetlana.
My question is regarding Sirius. Can you tell us what is the star system known for? What are Sirians known for? What are they good at? What's their reputation in the galactic world?
Well, understand that there are many different types of Sirian races. And again, much in regards to our particular form of existence, is that we exist as starlights. So us as Sirians in that particular way exist as this particular type of light-based consciousness, and that we are primarily connected to all other stars within this particular galactic unit, and that we are also able to have access to connections to other galaxies as well. But the whole idea in regards to our nature is that we are continuing to expanding ourselves and, again, understanding more of the connections as a whole on a universal consciousness level, and that we have come forward to volunteer ourselves because we have a type of genetic and, in that sense, soul tie together with many of you, and that we have come here, in that sense, to share our particular form of insight with many of you. We have also worked together with other particular forms of, shall we say, star nations, in that way of saying, and being able to help them evolve as well, too. So basically, in regards to us, you would refer to us as being watchers. Now, the idea in regards to other particular types of Sirian races is that if you were to look into our neighboring star of Sirius B, you will discover that it is, in that sense, highly technocratic, and that basically, much in regards to other races that are actually looking for technology, such as spacecraft, such as energetic technology, etc., will often relay themselves to Sirius, because in that sense there are many different advanced builders there that are actually creating, shall we say, certain factories to actually allow this particular type of technology to come forward. There have been in the past, in that sense, but not so much anymore, the idea of war machines actually being created as well too. But much of that, in that sense, has changed pace. But again, there are many different races, each with their own particular types of agendas, each with their own particular levels of assistance. Now again, all we can really do is speak for ourselves. We're not really speaking for any other particular races. But in regards to what Sirius itself represents is the idea of humanity's dawning, the idea about where you are going within a great many centuries in that particular way, of moving yourself into a celestial community, of being able to offer your own goods and services in that way, out of the idea of barter trade privilege. And again, moving more into the idea of connecting on a much more deeper level, the idea of consciousness with other particular members of the galactic community. So you would understand that Sirius B, as we have put it in the past, would represent very much similar to, well, New York City exists upon your planet, very much in that way an exchange center. And again, many different beings that have appeared. So again, we have beings that are humanoid, we have beings that are reptilian, we have beings that are feline or lion-like in race. We have cetacean energy or whale energy, dolphin energy in that sense, beings of that particular nature. We also have insectoid races in that sense that also connect with, in that sense, both star systems of Sirius A and Sirius B. Again, much in regards to your own star system has a very strong enrichment of, in that sense, sub-races that have once emerged from Sirius that have, in that sense, migrated to such worlds. You would understand one of these areas being Venus. Venus, in that sense, in regards to once of its population, were once, in that sense, seeded through the idea of beings from Sirius.
And I know in one of the sessions you told me that my higher self has a connection to Sirius. Can you tell me what my function is? Like, what do I do on Sirius?
It would be very, very much of a dichotomy to give an idea of a function to a higher self, other than the idea in that sense of being the epitome of your own soul, connecting with you in that particular way to helping you understand the idea of your own realizations of how you are interconnected to all things. So the higher self does not relate to you in the idea of drama pertaining to the idea of your own physical world. It relates more so in the idea to the behind the scenes in that way, helping you to understand what you are in different dimensional constructs. The higher self, again, is just a version of you that represents a aspect of a higher omnipresence that understands more of looking at the universe through cells within a beehive, rather than the idea in that sense of being stuck within certain dramatic cycles. So this is basically what it's attempting to do, is enriching you through enlightenment to helping you understand your multidimensional self.
Okay. Thank you.
Make sense?
Sort of.
All right. Again, it's not something that we can easily convey because the higher self is so much different in the idea of what you understand as relationship right now. But again, there is no difference between yourself and the higher self as you are connected as one being. You would understand that this version of you as Svetlana is one cell contained within the multi-dimensional sphere that your higher self views you. So again, this is just one perspective about how you are attempting to understand your connection with all things that exists within the higher self, that is then fed back into the oversoul, that when you retire from the physical body, much in regards to those memories, return back into the oversoul consciousness, and that the higher self is the mediator between your conscious self and the oversoul.
And does my soul have another incarnation on Earth at the moment right now, aside from me?
Yes.
Can you tell me where?
Well, there are many. There's not just one.
Oh, so there's more? Wow. Can you tell me how many?
When you basically pick up a crystal and you feel a very deep connection with that particular crystal, that is not by accident. That is giving you the idea that this is another soul aspect of yourself existing in that. You actually have animals on this planet that are very much of the soul aspect of yourself that you can connect with in that sense. And this is why you feel such strong bonds. You notice that perhaps even best friends in your reality feel like fellow sisters to you. The reason is because you share the same soul aspect.
Okay. Thank you so much for the information. Thank you.
We thank you.
Thank you for calling in. Take care. Namaste. All right, question in the chat room. People want to know who or what was David Bowie, because people are mourning his death like crazy, but some people think he was a Satanist. So, quick question there. What or who is David Bowie?
He was a human being upon your planet who, in that sense, had certain forms of encounters as a child that have, in that sense, allowed him to become very inspirational in his music, and in that sense, as he had visitations from beings that appeared to be angels in that particular way. And so much in regards to even his own euphoric experiences brought him back into more of these heavenly-based realms. And that basically, much in regards to the inspiration of his music, was based upon these euphoric encounters that he experienced. But he was not an extraterrestrial in any particular way in that form of understanding. He was very much a human being, but had, in that sense, awoken at a very young age and realized the power of his music that he wanted to share with the world based upon his encounters he had with higher dimensional beings.
Thank you very much. Hope that answers your folks' question. All right, 5 minutes left on the live feed. Probably have to do this subject on the fly, but just a quick few things about the ET races. Once there's a grace, there's a video here. The Anunnaki, Akashic Records reader Andrew Bartz has said that the Anunnaki from Nibiru that Zecharia Sitchin has popularized for all intents and purposes, those Anunnaki are locked out of our reality. Is that true? And if it's not true, why did you say it?
That would be correct, yes.
It is.
Yes.
Okay, it is true. Okay. Couple of things about some other ET races. Andromedans, Arcturians, and Orions, and the Pleiadians. I realize there's different sub-races within these star races, but just because we're kind of living on time here, why are those races here on Earth? What is the number? If you had to pick a number one primary purpose for why the Andromedans, Arcturians, Orions, and Pleiadians are here on Earth, what would that one main specific primary reason be for each of them?
Because you are related to them.
It's that simple, huh? Okay, yeah, so we are genetic royalty. I can certainly go along with that.
In a way, understanding that, again, you are a mixed hybrid race. And as a mixed hybrid race, much in regards to the contributors that attested to the connection of allowing you to be what you are here for, shall we say, karmically connected purposes. Family visiting family. So you're all connected because of karma.
Thank you. And last subject, I guess, to kill two birds with one stone here. The Indigo Children and the, if I pronounce this incorrectly, please don't blame me, I'm sorry, the Yael and Pleiadian hybrid children. So those hybrid children and the Indigo Children in the final 3 minutes and 20 seconds of live feed. Tell us about that.
Well, the whole idea is that these are what you would know as your immediate family through the idea of crossbreeding races. And so what you would know as the beings that you would call commonly the Greys, as well as your own human form in that way, that again, certain women have been visited through these particular beings to associate in a hybridization program that has been more agreed to energetically than physically. And this is why it has created certain forms of frightening encounters. But again, much in regards to the product that has been relayed through the hybridization program are, again, your own children. And so they are basically what you would know as an offshoot hybrid race that has been created through your partial genetics and through the partial genetics of the Greys themselves to actually allow a new hybridization of race that will become a part of your future. And so much in regards to the Yael, the Pleiadian, the Shikani in that particular way, are these divisions of certain forms of hybrid races that exist that will eventually at some point be your mentors, be your teachers, because they have all of the experience of functioning together in a galactic community, and they have much more of a deeper correlation to you. That is not to say that everybody upon your planet is going to be encountering the Yael in that particular way. there will be other particular races that will also be bonding and harmonizing together with them. So it would be very appropriate to say that the Yao is, yes, one of the first particular races that you'll be encountering, but there will also be other human-like races as well, too, that you'll be encountering. Some may even include the beings from inner Earth. Again, that's not 100% certain right now, because there are, shall we say, certain truces that are being worked out to determine who will be the faculty to allowing yourselves to coach you, mentor you in becoming a galactic civilization eventually.
Thank you very much, Brett Johnson and Adronis. All right, I just got the warning there from the woman with the British accent that I have 90 seconds on the live feed. So I guess I might as well end the show now. And, this is probably far the most emotional part of all of my shows, but hey, I've kind of made a little bit of a gig out of this. So I'll tell you the same thing I tell all of my guests, and that is that ever since I started doing the show, I've always had the goal of making the show as impartial, most informative, and probably the best show I can make it. And I figured that one of the best ways to do that would always be to try to get as many different guests on my show as possible before I gave any one specific guest double dip. And so sorry to tell you that, because looking at Brett Johnson's YouTube channel, there's a whole slew of other subjects. But by all means, I'll definitely watch a lot more of those videos, because boy, he covers a lot of subjects there, and you do too, Adronis. So it's definitely worth watching. But if you ever want to come on my show again, you or Brett Johnson, to discuss something important, by all means, give me a buzz, and I could give you like maybe another hour special something to come on. However, as well as me asking you or any of my other guests to come on, I probably will not be asking you to come on again. But like I said, please understand that's only because I feel the need to give thousands upon thousands of other fascinating individuals a chance to come on the show to make the show informative, and as impartial as I possibly can. So, but I promise you, I will make sure I spread this video far and wide. I will upload it to YouTube and get a lot out to a lot of social media networks and such. And I do hope that a lot of skeptics in regards to the ET contact phenomenon will no longer be skeptical after they listen to this. And I do hope a lot of other people will hope to get their info from Brad Johnson and you too, Adronis. So thank you for coming on.
Brad, I'm back. So
you're back.
I'm back here. So, yeah. But, thank you so much for having a really great show. And, again, I'm not too worried about what the skeptics say, so it's okay. You can't convince everybody. I think that's the big part of reality, is knowing that it's okay for people to think different from yourselves. But, again, my greatest wish is that it's shown something about yourself, and if that's something that you're willing to harmonize with, that's great. But skeptics will be skeptics, believers will be believers, and certainties relating to yourself will be certainties. So let it all be blessed the way it is.
Let it all be blessed, and so it is. Thank you very much, Brad Johnson and Adronis. Take care. Namaste.
Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Okay, folks. Oh, my God. I'm having a little problem here with the... Okay, folks, I am back on. Sorry, I was having some problems there with the mute button. But that is the end of this show, and I must actually be a little ignorant here. Can't remember who I'm actually scheduled to have on the show next week, but I do know I have a show. It might be somehow the Julie Picard is that name is sticking out. But, well, whatever the case, I do have a guest next week. Please excuse me for not bothering to check who that would be. But it was a great show. I hope you all got something from this. This is Andrew Fisher signing off from Nature of Reality Radio. Enjoy the rest of your trek to infinite consciousness, everybody.